Rolling. Pattern pusher interview.
Alright, rolling shit. Who wants to do the clap?
Ben.
Because you haven't got coffee.
It's good.
Right, well, welcome to the interview with Pattern Pusher.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Josh, and Devon and Cornwall Films.
Right, well, let's to start off. How are we?
Very well, thank you. The sun's out. Everything's
It's
turning
amazing.
May, isn't it?
Yeah,
Finally,
100%.
after months, it feels like, of rain.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still a false summer at the moment. I think
Don't.
Give it an hour. Well, let's get this done. So we're in the lovely Firehouse.
Yes.
It's got quite a lot of history with the band, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Some of our earliest gigs were here, weren't they?
We noticed the poster on the wall, actually. I think maybe our first gig as Pattern Pusher was here.
Really?
Yeah.
As Pattern Pusher, yeah, we were called Instant Karma originally back in the day, and then we changed our name and did a big rebrand in here, the Firehouse. So this is actually the birth of Pattern Pusher.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was here. I wasn't quite sure whether it was the Phoenix was your first gig or not.
No, that was a little bit later. We tested the road with the
after.
Firehouse, and we love it here. It's such a great pub.
So yeah, tell me about your early gigs at Firehouse in the Phoenix. So they intertwine quite a lot back in the day.
I think I remember here specifically, we used to sort of do a mixture of like a few covers and originals, and we were like trying out quite a lot of material. But I seem to remember some of the covers we did back then were pretty cool, actually. We had
Did
like,
have Common People, didn't we? I remember that.
yeah, and Shadow Player.
Oh yeah, Shadowplay, the Killers version. Have you ever heard that? It's like
yes. Yeah.
a
that
Joy
was
Division
good.
song. I love that song. I still listen to that a lot. Yeah.
That's on the album with Lou Reed as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Good old
It
Lou
was sort
Great
of
album,
like
yeah.
songs that you wouldn't normally get away with doing unless you were in a pub like the Firehouse.
Yeah, it's a bit of
Yeah.
a receptive crowd, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Well, I think Firehouse has always been that kind of place to like kind of practice and kind of like find your footing.
It's a bit more arty
isn't it?
as well, isn't it? I think people are
Yeah.
more receptive. It's not just about the
Yeah.
play Valerie again, sort
Well, you know,
of.
it's free to come in and all that sort of
Yeah.
thing. You know.
And it's always a nice crowd in here. But then with Phoenix we
Flower just landed in.
Firehouse being good to you, mate. Is scenting your tea with herbs.
That's good luck, I hear.
Yeah,
Meant to
very
be.
good luck. So the Phoenix, we basically just got a load of our pals that were in bands, and we were just like, we want to start a night, and so we did Pattern Pusher Presents, which was way more grandiose than we were at the time. We'd only just started, but it seemed to pay off. The
I
risk
don't know
paid off.
what position we were in to present.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We kind of gave ourselves above our station, but it worked. You know what? I think that's a lesson there. Just go above you, think big, and it worked. So we've got loads of people in the Phoenix. It was great.
Yeah, well, I think in terms of that, like the Pattern Pusher Present stuff, I don't think you need to have like a band status. I think especially with the size of the community in Exeter, it's more about, it's always about like who you know, not what you know, and I think that kind of community and that commitment to the local scene.
Definitely.
I think that was all the grounding you really needed, and I think if you want to lead, you lead.
Exactly.
And I think you as a group, in terms of Exeter's community, I think you've always kind of led that sort of
Nice
scene.
one, Josh. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it that way. It's just felt like
You never do when you're on the inside of it.
Yeah,
You're
so
like,
you always
what
need
are we
that kind of
doing?
perspective,
Yeah.
But definitely that risk paid off, and I'm glad we did it, because then we've had like 3 or 4 ever since, and they've always been just rammed and really fun and big. Phoenix is such a
they've
big
been great.
stage, and long may it continue. We're having a great one on Friday the 17th. This is out by then, May. Big fun night in the Phoenix. So,
No pressure, I'll get it sorted.
Come on down. No pressure, Josh. You've got to get this done and out today.
I'll do it while I'm making the pizzas later.
Oh god, yeah. I'll be on you. I'm going to come and order one and go, don't make my pizza. Cut this.
Edit it. So, Instant Karma was the. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to that, because
An interviewer
this
never
is
forgets.
a little golden nugget I did not know.
Yeah.
So how did Instant Karma?
So we used to be a 4-piece.
Right,
Ben
okay.
used to play electric guitar, and then we'd have
Yeah.
a guy called Dan on bass. We did very kind of experimental, inspired by kind of Radiohead, inspired by Old J. And Instant Karma didn't seem to quite fit the sounds we were making, I think.
Yeah.
So even though I think it is a great name, it didn't quite match the sound. So we were playing a lot with electronic sounds at the time, weren't we? And we had an Ableton Push, if you've seen one of those.
Yeah,
Crazy
yeah.
lights and electronic. Yeah,
I've always wanted
you
to
love a
learn
bit of
one.
DJ.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
And that kind of just that device in itself kind of looks like Pat and Pusher in a name, I think. So that was kind of the birth of Pat and Pusher. But since then, we haven't really looked back. I think we developed a bit of a scene and a good crowd and stuff. So that's how Pat and Pusher was created.
Nice. So what happened to Mysterious?
we went to Wetherspoons and met every single person we know. As we were trying to just say, like, we love you, we'll always be pals, but we need to commit time to it. And I think he had so much going on in his life that sadly he couldn't commit that time to it. We still hang out with him though, he's a great guy. But
I think that's what people tend to forget as well. It's like, as much fun being in a band and travelling and touring, it is a full-time job and commitment.
Can be,
And if
and with no pay.
That's what I mean. Like, if you need to make money, you need to find a way of doing it alongside doing that as well. But
sure.
So it's everyone's dream, but it's the saying. As the saying goes, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It is. We're the only ones, I think, though, because there was a lot of bands when we started.
Yeah.
So many bands spawned. There's a band called Swarm. There's a band. Yeah. There's like just all these other bands that like going at the same time as us. Like when we first started in Sakama, none of them are still together. And they're just like, I think there's a really good quote which is like, success is mostly about just staying in there, hanging in. And I think we found that at various times. It's like we're just still plodding away, and it seems to work. if you do keep going, people do still listen to you, and you've got a really nice base to grow from because you put so many years into it. So there's something in that, I think. Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Never. No. I don't think. Unless someone makes him a lot of money and stuff. But for most people, it's like a 10-year overnight success, isn't it? That's like the cliche quote.
Yeah. So what things do you tend to think about when you're thinking about kind of like peeking over like the other bands like in the community, and like in terms of like not it being a competition but to stand out? Like, where do you go creatively to kind of pull yourself away from the other bands in the community?
Good question. I guess like I don't think I've ever thought about it.
We just do it.
We were talking about it just the other day though. We were talking about just the other day about how with Pat and Pusher Presents, like Ben built a giant cube.
Oh yes.
Like that's something that like instantly when you look at the pictures back from our gig compared to any other gig where it's just stage lights, par cans.
That was the first Pat and Pusher Presents, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like ever since the beginning, like we've had this we for like a good few years we had a ridiculously big cube following us around in all our photos and stuff, and like
we did some cool light shows, didn't we?
Just do something a bit different, I guess. Like it's fun as well, isn't it? Like you don't want to just be like 4 guys standing by some wooded forest in your pictures. Like, why not have a giant cube following you around like a bad smell?
Performance at the end of the day, music being like a visual performance as well as just like an audible one as well. How far would you go in terms of like saying that music is just the visual as well as the kind of the music part of it?
I mean, for me, I think that's always...
Well, being a graphic designer, as well.
Yeah. Well, I think, like, I've sort of weirdly built, like, a career off of this as well. Like,
gave you a good place to experiment, didn't it?
And that was it. I think being in a band, as much as, like, writing songs and developing, like, musical styles, it's also been the same for the design and the sort of art direction that's come alongside of it.
Yeah.
So, as much as, I sort of, like, Tyler the Creator jumping out of like some fireworks or something at Coachella the other day, like we are trying to sort of do a similar thing, like on our level, I guess, and
within our budget.
It's all relative,
But there was a really great documentary at the time that we were watching by Ez Devlin, who's like a very sort of famous stage designer, and she sort of said that one of the things that she hates about seeing gigs is when you see this sort of cliche like lump of like a drummer in the middle, band's sign in the background, and the guitarist standing up like next to it, and she's like, that was sort of the just setting for so many gigs, where she was trying to break that, and that was one thing that we tried to do for a long time I guess, was try and be different in that sense as well.
Do you reckon it's easier to do have that sort of stage presence with 3 members rather than say like 5 or 6 like a ska
I think
band?
so, definitely. Ben has a lot of fun live. Obviously, if you've ever seen a Pat and Pusher gig, he's always just goes crazy, and like you can say it better than us. You have a lot of fun, do you?
I do, well, I like to run around and like the space.
You need to be free range Ben.
In a 5,
I thought caged.
In a 5-piece, there's always a cliche that the bass player stands at the back and no one knows where he is. Whereas like with us, it's like a lead bass player.
Oh, where is
really
he?
Fun.
He's in the crowd.
I have no idea, but he's there somewhere sailing his bass.
To be fair, I kind of honed that a bit here, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I remember like I was always trying to push it, and I was like climbing on the speakers, and I was like, I'm going to go behind the bar, and then I got the
Pull a
bar,
pint.
pull a pint, and I'm also like have my head under the tap and like.
I'm fairly sure I have
like,
a memory of you stood on the bar at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's definitely happened.
Yeah, I was like, what's next? Like, so I'm
far?
always just thinking,
Was
like,
it-
how can I make it memorable? Really, like,
Yeah.
what can we do
Yeah.
that would make it so that like someone goes, oh yeah, that happened at that gig.
Yeah.
So many people talk about their live gigs. They're like, "Oh my god, your bass player!" Like, so that's really fun, isn't it? Like, how many other bands would be able to say that?
I guess
That's so rare, isn't it?
That sort of is really sort of important for us as well, because Alex is a keyboard player and I'm on the drums. Like, we
stuck.
pretty much
Yeah.
can't be. So
Yeah.
Ben's doing like all of our moves.
Yeah, I have to
you need-
move to three.
Yeah, because you get other bands that are kind of like choreograph and stuff, aren't they?
Yeah.
And, like, we're just like kind of glued to our
Yeah.
instruments, so
I'm
you need someone
definitely
wild.
the pitch that you have one of those walking drum kits now.
Yeah,
You go around.
well, there's definitely been times where I've taken like the snare drum or something out. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
That used to happen.
Baltimore was great, yeah.
Yeah, I used to do that at Baltimore quite a bit.
Baltimore, some great gigs there.
Yeah, we had some real wild, fun festival gigs there. Looking back at the photos the other day, because I had to clear my Google photos, and I was like, oh, they were some fun gigs. Lots of fun. Ben out in the
great
crowd with his
festival.
snare drum, smashing it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
then
good
there was like
place to
3
be.
students holding it, like, ah! And he's there like, bang, bang. So good.
To some upbeat disco.
You can just see
as well.
their eyes, like, please don't hit my face, please.
Well, yeah, let's talk about your transition from, I guess, being this like upbeat disco vibe band to your latest album, which is kind of a departure from the super upbeat.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it a little bit in like the press releases and things about like albums or songs being diaries. My dad used to say that as well, and like it's where your head's at the time, isn't it? You know, it should reflect where your emotions are. It's, you know, art is a reflection on what's going on inside, I think. And so before, when we were just sort of having a bop about, we were just sort of in that headspace of like, let's make everyone dance, let's play some festivals, let's go to Boardmasters and just go and jig about. And then for this album, a lot of bad stuff happened, a lot of good stuff happened during those 2 years of making it. So it kind of reflects that. And musically, I think we worked with a producer who just sort of really taught us that you've got to just make music that you're going to really enjoy and be proud of, rather than chasing something that you think other people might like. So I think that's where you've seen, I guess a lot of people have called it a more mature sound from us, which is basically us actually just writing the things we like writing and sounding, you know, if we want to use a clunky piano and write a nice little ballad on it, we will, and we'll keep it in, rather than feel like it needs to become some like Nile Rodgers spin-off disco thing, which is a bit like what it could have been before. So yeah, but that's it really.
So the album's, you think it's gone through quite a few like iterations in all of your minds, like from what it originally was planned to be to.
It's sort of 2 different albums, really.
Yeah.
I think so. We had made an album which never really, well, it sort of came out as an EP. Which we were sort of contemplating whether we might still release it.
Yeah, well, certainly some
as,
of it.
as the way it was intended. Now we've done this album, but I think this album was always going to be different.
Yeah.
From when we started.
And we're really happy with it. The
process.
response has been amazing as well, isn't it? I think people do resonate a lot more when you're more honest and more like just showing what's going on in your head. I think that like it's just a lot of people talk about that when they create things, and I think we've learned that doing this album, which has been really nice catharsis and a really nice process to go through.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think the style and like the heart of the album really reminds me of the stuff you put out as Pat Pusher at the very beginning.
Yeah, a lot of people said that.
Remind me of the
We
name
do
of the
feel so.
original EP. Because it had the blinds. The illustration was by Ross
P.S.
Becker.
Yeah.
Ross
Yeah.
Becker, that was at Ben's old house that he used to live in.
he was living with us.
Yeah.
And, I remember he looked out of his window and was like, oh, yeah, that's good.
I love the colour of that.
Yeah.
That EP, the pink is so lush, like terracotta-y pink, like beautiful. But yeah, so PS is very close. Yeah, like things like
You're
sketches and things where we just went with our hearts.
I think-
I've got that in my head. Sketches. Yeah, that was great.
I think like that's kind of, it's interesting because that's the producer that was working with us at the beginning kind of heard that quite late into working with us and was like, well, you guys, why didn't you do this the whole time?
Yeah, he was swearing. He was like, and I was like, what happened to you?
Yeah.
Like, and that was a really nice moment because it was like, what did happen to us? Let's go back to that.
Yeah.
Do you think you got carried away with the disco vibes?
We got management involved. We wanted to, we thought we'd roll the dice. We got on Radio 2 and things, so it wasn't like it was a, we kind of got a taste of those things, and we were like, well, this isn't what we want to sound like, though. Actually,
Yeah.
It didn't feel right, even though it was a lot of fun. I think we can't deny that it was a lot of fun at festivals and things doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And we still do tonight, which is a big disco one of ours, and we'll always have a lot of fun live because they those kind of songs do work live. Obviously, everyone's jumping about, but recording wise, I think. And just as songwriting wise, we wanted to go a bit more deep.
But there are still fun songs on the album.
Oh, God, yeah.
No doubt.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I actually think the album that we did before was more probably the right side of disco for us, because we had a lot of influence from like Motown and like a lot of like soul artists and stuff that you grew up listening to. And so I think that part of it was really great. But it was sort of where we went after, I think, where it sort of maybe became thinking too much commercially.
It was co-writing with other people there. They're all really good writers and things, and like it would work really well for kind of sync music where you're trying to get on adverts and things. And we got on some like really big adverts with it. But it
depends what you guys want to get
exactly.
out of it.
I think. Do you really want to? Like Jamie said to us, he's like, you want something that in 20 years' time you're going to put it on and you're just going to be like, wow, we made that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we've done with this album.
Yeah.
So
I feel very proud of it.
Yeah.
What do you think your favourite record is off the album?
Favorite track?
I got asked this the other day and I froze. I keep thinking of the other one.
I know Ben's. I know Ben C's. Ben C's is definitely the latest single, Love Is the Biggest Risk. 100%.
That's probably the one that's been stuck in my head.
That's the one that's had the most response.
I'm leaning towards that as well.
I think for me it feels like an amalgamation of everything that we've done before.
That's very true.
And it feels like just, I don't know, I think
everything came together, didn't it? Like drums, bass and vocals and piano all came together. The
Yeah.
recording's really beautiful. Overall it just sounds but just to be different, I'm going to go for the one that we're going to play for you up in the attic.
Yes.
It's Forever and a Day, which I think has probably not been given
Last
its
one on the
light
album.
because it's the last one on the album. It is.
Yeah.
And I think that it deserves a bit more cred.
Well, this is the thing for me. Like when you ask that, I just run through every song in my mind, and I'm like, I really like that one too. And
Hotel Room is one of my favourites as well.
That's definitely like the first time I've ever done like a body of work and felt that. I feel that like this is the first time I've been like, wow, I really just believe in it, and I don't care if anyone doesn't like it. Yeah, because I like it.
That's it. I think it's going to be really fun touring it, and we've had a really nice response. So it's done everything that we wanted to gain from it, and just in terms of us personally, I think that's what matters really.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think in terms of bodies of work, they're harder to come around these days because it's all just about the singles you're putting out and whatever you can get viral, and albums that are 35 minutes plus aren't going to go viral if that's the intention is to listen to the whole of it. But it doesn't have to go viral. Things didn't go viral back in before TikTok and social media. It was all about these tiny pockets of communities. They didn't know who the other community is on the other side of the pond. You'd still end up meeting them at like gigs and then finding that you all thought the same thing instead of just being like finding it on the comments or whatever was trending online.
I still love listening to an album all the way through. I've got
100%.
really even more into it, I think, probably from making this, but I barely ever listen to the singles now. I've got really into it. I'm just like, no, I'm going to listen to the whole album, and I love it. I love getting immersed in it. Like, there's a band called Everything Everything that have got a really quirky, like, unique sound to them, and you just get lost in their world for 45 minutes. And then the same with like a guy called Theo Katzman that I listen to, and I'm sure you guys have got faves as well. Like, you just get lost in that world of that artist and the way they're at that moment in that time. Like I said about Diaries, and it's such a beautiful thing to like spend 45 minutes with an artist like that.
I've never really looked at it like that way, but I think that makes sense to me. Like you said, when I listen to a playlist, I mean, sometimes it's
all over the place, isn't
it?
Yeah.
Around those you sort of feel like you want to feel like a certain way for at least more than 3 minutes.
Everyone's attention spans are so short. Well, not everyone's, that's harsh, because I think a lot of people do like albums. That's why vinyl's had such a resurgence. Like, I don't think it's that uncommon even.
I think it's probably more just a habit nowadays.
It's convenience. That's what all these streaming services and everything online is meant to be for. It's just convenience. I think everything's a little bit too convenient.
Yeah, it was weird. It was just reminded me. So I was in Portugal and I was about 15. And I was so hungover. But I was lying on the sofa and the guy's sister and her boyfriend were listening to music in the room next door really loudly, and they literally listened to the first 10 seconds of every song. They were like, "Oh, I love this one!" And like finally, like a Randy Newman song came on, like "You Got a Friend in Me," and it was like, da, 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 da. Yeah, that was lovely. And then they skipped to the next one. I was like, what is wrong with these people? Yeah, that shows you the extremes. The extremes that some people listen to.
If you want that, go see a DJ set. That's pretty much what that's
exactly.
for, right?
30 seconds of a track and then they'll mix the next one in.
It's nice as well if you do listen to vinyl that you can almost think of it as like two halves as well, because you've got that little break where you flip it, and then like there's almost like short.
We've definitely made that a case, haven't we, with the album?
Yeah.
So we've sort of got like a track in the middle,
interlude,
which when we finally get the vinyl,
I do love an interlude, and the home as an interlude is great.
Yeah,
nice one, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're kind of like little pit stops in the album, you know. It's like taking an ad break, but it's an ad.
Yeah, a little piano ad break.
Yeah,
because it's intense listening to like 40 minutes of like loads of songs,
drums
right?
and heavy like bass and stuff like
So like, give people a break. Why not?
Yeah, little breather.
Yeah.
So in terms of like coping with kind of like everyday life and just stress, like how does creativity and how did the album, working on the album, help you through certain things in your life, like anxieties and worries? Like how much did it
added to it at times. Definitely. Yeah. No, there's always that I think with creativity there's that beginning bit which is really exciting, and it's like hours fly by and you're so excited, and then there's the like weeks and weeks and weeks after that where it gets to like the logistical parts of it, and
the
like
business
the getting it recorded well enough to be happy with it, and the mixes, all those, you know, mixing. Bless Ben spent hours and days and months, but like it is that, you know, the beginning bit's always so exciting, and it's like, oh my god, we're gonna do something that's so good, and like you listen to it round and round, you're like, oh, what can we do to this bit, that's great, and then after that you've got to put months and months into it, like making it sound any good.
We'd like demoed the songs a lot as well, so we tried them so many different ways. So like
All's Well That Ends Well had about 30 versions.
Like it's been 2 years, like I can really vividly remember like one of the first songs we wrote was like on a summer's day. We were playing a wedding, like with some function stuff, and we sat down and wrote this song like really quickly, and then like finished it like nearly right at the end of the whole process.
Yeah, completely different to where it was at various other times in the process. But we're happy with it though. It's nice. It's fun. It's a good thing to explore. You learn a lot.
Yeah, and it gets easier maybe,
but not very stress releasing. I would say.
When it's good though, it is like unbeatable.
Yeah, there's been times that like it'd be like 2 a.m. and suddenly like a really exciting synth will come out. And then everyone's like, oh my god, what have you just done to that track? And so there's definitely moments even in the like more stressful bits that have been fun.
So did you get a lot of sleep?
That's the thing, you're working, aren't you? Like doing other jobs around it and things. So
So hold on, guys. Should we just take it from that again? Just
cool.
Take it again, obviously.
So, well, in terms of being the sole producer for the album and also being a full-time producer for other artists and bands, like how have you found that? How have you found the time?
I don't know.
on top of having a child as well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now a dad.
Yeah,
so done that quicker than anything else.
Yeah, that was easy.
That's the easy bit. Yeah.
That took me a second. I don't know, like working as a producer is weird because I guess you're like, I wasn't the only producer, like we all produced, like I guess I was kind of like maybe the
lead,
but like we also worked with Jamie, who's this amazing producer who kind of like opened the doors for us, like we were saying earlier, to rediscover what we like and what we want to do, but like I guess it's interesting because you're a bit more attached to this. You're a lot closer to it, so it's harder to get perspective when you're working with someone else on their project. You know, you love what you're doing, but you, at the same day, you could just be like, no, that's crap, change that, and you're not as worried about like the feelings a bit. But then with this, it's kind of like, oh no, do I want to like change this? Do I want to change this? Is it gonna like mess up the song? Like it's really close, and like it's hard to get that perspective that you have.
Have you found it easy to stay unbiased in terms of producing other, like I said earlier about this like element of competition in smaller communities with music? Have you found it easy to kind of have like a level head of when you're producing other people's art? So you want everyone to succeed, and you want, because it's going to be your own work anyway. But are you like your own worst critic, or do you think you're harsher on other people's projects?
I'm definitely like, I think I don't trust myself enough sometimes with that stuff. I'm always like asking for feedback and whatnot. But then I don't know. I want everyone to do really well.
Definitely,
and like it's. I think everyone benefits when people do well.
Yeah,
then it lifts up the bar, and like I think like
it raises the standards. Yeah.
And
music's about like love rather than like falling out and stuff like that. Yeah, when bands take things like, you know, when there's certain bands that like you can just tell like don't have that mindset when you get to a gig and they're being all like kind of standoffish. It's like we've always just got there and be like, yo, how's it going? Let's hang out. Let's make friends. Let's like do gigs together. Like that should be the way it is.
Because like Exeter and Devon actually does have a pretty good scene for music, but it's a little bit lost sometimes. So yeah, Exeter and Devon, like, it's got a really good music scene, and I think that sometimes it's hidden away because maybe like it's not as well known about like Bristol or London or other cities. But then, like, when people do break into the community, I think, like, you guys would agree, like, it really, like, it's very nurturing and, like, supportive. But I think it just needs a few more people to just push it a little bit further, break up to, like, the next rung. And then maybe the attention might be a bit more down here. Yeah. Like, as well, Cornwall really is linked in with that. Like, the whole southwest, I think. Yeah. There's a lot of talent going here that is kind of in a little bit of a bubble. But I think it won't be long before it starts pushing and like bleeding over the rest of the country.
Sometimes I think a creative bubble is good in a way, because it like feeds everyone that motivation.
Definitely.
To kind of, if we're keeping everything in the same loop, like using the same producers, using the same kind of artists or any sort of thing.
You spare each other on, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, look at them, they're doing that cool gig, let's put a gig like that on. Or
even
like,
down to like booking agents as well, and people that aren't solely just in it for like being musicians, but like the networking, like the who you know. I think like building a strong rapport with everybody is really important in terms of kind of raising the bar for creativity.
We all raise it for each other.
And then you look at each other and it's not like competitive, but you look at each other and you go, oh, that was really cool. Yeah. Why aren't we doing that?
That's what I was reading a book about creativity, and that's exactly what the Beatles and Beach Boys were doing across the Atlantic when they did Pet Sounds and they did Sgt. Pepper's. They literally over interviews said they were like, "That's Pet Sounds is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard," and then they do Rubber Soul, and then Brian Wilson would be like, "Rubber Soul is the coolest record I've ever heard," and then they would do another record, and it was out of love. It wasn't out of competition. Yeah, and that's where both bands got better and better and better, because it was out of this complete mutual love for each other. So that's what it should be in music.
Cool. Do we have a message for the young up-and-coming artists in Exeter and Devon, or anywhere in the world, whoever sees this, people with no money, but they have all the passion, and they've like got even no kit or anything. Like, where did you start?
I think you just got to someone said in a songwriting masterclass I saw recently, it was just be at the writing table all the time. If you're a songwriter, just be constantly trying stuff out, experimenting, and don't take it too seriously, and it's free to write a song. You can do it right now a cappella, be like just you know what I mean, you can start you can start, and that's completely free to you. You can sing a cappella. If you've got a guitar, you can strum some chords and sing over it. And it's so much joy can come out of that, just experimenting, tinkering, playing with language, playing with chords. So from the songwriter perspective, I think like it doesn't cost anything to write songs, so just have a go and just do it daily, and then out of nowhere these little seeds will start getting exciting, and then you won't be able to put it down, and you'll get lost for hours, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's it. I think getting lost in just a jam or anything really simple, or even getting lost in your favourite album.
Best way to spend time, isn't it? It's
great.
I
think the most creative movements you do aren't even when you're making music. It's what you do in your daily life and what you bring to the table when you do create something.
Yeah, being creative is
that's
the way.
The most important. It's always to have that creative mind switched on. Yeah, and always to like listen to it as like an inner voice.
It's exciting, isn't it? It's being mindful, mindful in your day of being like, oh, that's a really fun idea, or just even seeing something like an otter's best friend or something like that. Spew a whole story out, And if you actually have your creative mind switched on, you might be like, oh, okay, right, I'm going to write a song about an otter's best friend. Wherever it is,
So if you can make everything you do a creative decision, I think that's like a right way to go about it. Yeah, I think even when you're at work, make something fun. Like think outside the box, think outside your head. I think that's
definitely
100%.
There it is.
Right. Well,
thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Let's let's go play an acoustic track.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
It's the second verse with that hungry. All good to go?
Yeah.
Chasing paper dragons, hopeful and hopeless, feckless and frail. At the end of each day, hanging on for dear life. At the edge of each day, I repeat the words I've heard someone say. There's always another way. Another way to keep passing the time. Life's passing us by, forever and a day. When the hunger is gone and the senses are free, you still come along to see my charade. 'Cause I've been so up that even heading to town is bringing me down. Am I just bound to keep passing the time? Life's passing us by, forever and a day. Passing the time, life's passing us by, forever and a day, forever